And the first thing, just want you to feel the lightness and the weight of the jaw. So let's imagine the jaw becoming really heavy, dropping to the earth. And then imagine your jaw becoming very, very light, like it almost pulls you up. And then it drops, becoming really, really heavy. Feel the weight of your jaw. And the jaw becomes very, very light. So just feel like the jaw pulls you up. And feel the weight of the jaw. It's sinking down, becoming really heavy. And feel the weight, the lightness of the jaw coming up. And sinking down. And then we feel the axis of the jaw like a pillar inside. So we can feel the jaw inside. And all the time when we practice with the jaw, we can have one jaw inside and one jaw moving around. So the jaw inside is like our posture. And the posture can lean. It doesn't have to be straight up, but there is some kind of axis. So the axis can sometimes lean to the side, but there is a feeling inside of a connection coming through. So you can move a little bit with your jaw, go a little bit to the side, go deeper down, but you feel that the jaw is still inside. And then we come back holding the jaw in maybe 2 fingers like this. And we connect the jaw to our center. And we'll do it by moving the jaw without moving the arm. So I start to draw a circle with my tailbone. And my tailbone starts to move the jaw. So I have one hand on my center and holding the jaw with the other hand very lightly. And I imagine my tailbone is moving the jaw. And then down. Change to the other hand. So don't move your hand. You put the other hand on your center, sink down a little bit, drop your tailbone, and imagine you draw a circle with your tailbone, and this circle goes into your jaw. You connect your tailbone, your center, to the jaw, and move the jaw from inside. And let it stop. And change hands. You can do this by yourself. You change your hand. You can stand in hammy position if you want, or straight. But imagine your tailbone sinking, dropping, and beginning to spiral, and your tailbone starts to move the jaw. You really feel the movement, the connection between your tailbone, your center, and the jaw. And your hand is very, very still. So we are moving the jaw from inside. And slowing down. Changing to the other hand. Moving my tailbone, and let the movement in my tailbone move the jaw. Connect your tailbone, your center, and the jaw, moving the jaw from deep inside. See how deep you can move the jaw from, how deep inside you can move. Trying not to move the hand. And slow down. And then hold the jaw with two hands, but the jaw is free, it can move. So you can move the jaw from inside, from your tailbone, from your center. You can move the jaw in different directions. So now I will stand in a hammy position. And I'm standing in left hammy. So I will stand like this, maybe it's easier to see. And holding the jaw with my right hand, moving it from inside here. So I'm holding about one third of the jaw. And then I allow this movement to continue and into Yokumen. So the swinging is from my tailbone, my center. The movement is connected deep inside. And then suddenly I catch the movement, move my feet, and come into Yokumen. So I repeat it, standing here, swinging, moving the jaw from inside, from my tailbone. And I keep the movement. I keep the movement in my tailbone, in my center. I keep the movement in the jaw, and then suddenly enter into Yokumen. Trying on the other side. Moving from your center, from your tailbone, your dantian. And then it's like an ellipse here. And then at some point, turn into Yokumen. So it's catching the movement from deep inside. We don't think too much about the form right now, but the movement, the feeling from deep inside, continue without stopping. So I try again with my left foot forward, my right hand, standing here, moving from my center. And then I catch the movement and come here. So go on by yourself. Feel free to try left and right side. And try to not move your hands too much. Move from your center. See how deep inside you can create the movement. Okay, so let's just relax, holding the jaw and turning a little bit. And then draw a big circle. And move back and breathe in, open your chest and your hips, and breathe out, open your back. Again, open the front, breathing in, open the back, breathing out. And next time we come up, you push the jaw together and you compress your spine inside. And then you pull the jaw apart and you stretch your spine apart, like pulling your spine apart. And then compress your spine, compress the jaw, push together. And then stretch the jaw and stretch your spine. And the same thing behind you, here. Pull apart, stretch, and compress. And behind, you can feel the opposite. So when you stretch your hands, you can compress your spine. And when you compress your hand, you can feel you open your spine. Stretching your hands, compressing your spine, and compressing your hands, opening your spine. And relax. Now, let's keep the feeling all the time of moving the jaw from inside. And let's just walk. But walking and not moving the jaw too much. We rise, walk through the opening and drop. So you rise, you create an opening, you see the opening, and don't move the jaw too much. You walk through the opening and drop. Create an opening, move through and drop. Feel the opening and walk through and drop. Try by yourself, walking through the opening. So relax your hands, relax the jaw and move through the opening. Now let's come back to the weight of the jaw. So we can imagine the jaw very heavy here. And we can imagine the jaw very, very light. So when you rise the jaw here, feel the jaw very light. You walk through the opening. In this moment, the jaw becomes really heavy, like a huge weight dropping down. So just don't think too much about hitting or cutting. Play with the weight. So light, walk through the opening, and heavy. Changing your awareness from very light to very heavy. Light, walk through the opening, and feel the weight. So continue by yourself, changing between a light feeling and a very heavy feeling in the jaw. But the jaw movement comes from inside, from deep inside your center, from your tailbone. And instead of hitting or doing anything, just play with the weight. Light and heavy. Okay, so let's leave the jaw for a while and pick up the sword. So I'll put the jaw down and change for the sword. And let's start with the same quality of just holding the sword here. We can take 2 hands and hold it very gentle, and then start to move your tailbone, or if you want to focus on your center. You're moving the sword from inside, from deep inside. And you can change direction. Try to not move your hands too much. So we create an internal connection to the sword. Now, take the sword and imagine the sword pulled into your Dantien, Mingmen in the back. Even from your back, you can pull the sword a little bit in. So draw the sword from your lower back in and extend the sword. Drawing in, extending, drawing in, extending. And I personally like to change Hammi, but it's really up to you. So connecting it to the lower back is important. So the sword is not just front, but also in your spine, in your back. Now, imagine the sword floating, like resting on the water surface. And the sword, when you move, is moving on the water, and the water is not straight, it's not still, it's flowing a little bit. So your sword moves on the water. Personally, I change Hammi, but it's really up to you. So what it creates, this movement, is you're not rigid in your wrists, in your elbows, in your shoulders, and your knees. Your knees should be floating with your center. Your sword is really floating on the water surface. Connected all the way through your center into your lower back. Okay, good. So relax. And now let's do a little movement. I see how I can show it. Okay, I'll show first one time what we will do. So let's see, if I'm here. So I'm standing here and I turn the sword from inside in the spiral movement here. And then I continue the spiral, turning into a Hammi position, opening the spiral up. And then I continue and cut, Kesagiri. Not stopping any place, not going back and forth, always spiraling. So the first, I stand here and I hold my sword. So I'm going to move left. I have my right hand in front. So here, I spiral from inside with the sword here. And when I connect this spiral, even to my lower back here, then I increase the spiral and I open the spiral and I turn into a Hammi position here. But I still feel the movement from inside here. And then I cut Kesagiri and Kesagiri. So I'll repeat it. So maybe I do it let's see here. Can you see me? Yeah. So I have to be careful here, but here. So I'm going to move left. I have my right hand front. So spiraling here from inside. Turning from inside. And then I open the spiral and I have to limit my movement a little bit. But I stand in a hami position here, still moving from my center. And kesagiri and kesagiri. So try by yourself. I will also do with the left hand front, but it's really up to you. So try by yourself, beginning with the spiral movement. So I'll show it one more time here. So I'm standing this way now. I'm going to move left. My right hand is forward here. And the spiral here from inside. First two hands. And then I start to open it. I release one hand. And I have to be careful about the wall. But here, the movement is still coming from inside. And then I cut and I cut. Okay, so try again by yourself. Starting with two hands, moving over to one hand. Oh, good. Okay, so let's gather for a moment and I want to show you this picture. You recognize a tree, but normally we don't see what is below the surface. So we see what is sticking out from the earth, but half the tree is in the earth. So what I'm interested in, what about this? And it's easy when we do weapons to think about what is sticking out. But what is here? And where do the movements start from? You know, it's easy to start outside and just cut and cut and cut. But this is like being up here. How do we get the movement from somewhere here? So this is what I'm trying to do with these exercises, to use my tailbone, to use my center, to begin to move the sword or the jaw. And then from there, you grow, you expand the movement out. But it's looking into the source of the tree, or the seed maybe is here, but there's some kind of source down in the earth. So all of these movements is just exercises to connect deeper inside, to find the root of your sword. inside. So one other thing, when we grab now the sword, remember, most of you know, use your little finger and really be soft in your thumb and index finger for both hands. But the most important is this hand here. So this hand, and now just feel how you really move the sword from inside. Feel your little finger connecting, how you rise the sword like it grows up here. From the root inside your body, from your leg, from your tailbone, your center, and expands. And then you can open and cut. And personally, as I said, I like to try it with both hands. So here I'm standing here, finding my little finger in the back hand here, and really feeling this, the root of the movement in the body. So from the root, you can expand into the tree. So the little finger really helps you to connect deeper inside. Relax your outer finger and expand the movement. Feeling, grabbing with your little finger, moving from inside and expand out. So really taking care for where we start the movement and how we hold the sword. Feel the movement from earth coming through your leg, through your lower body, expanding up. Okay, good. So another thing I want to play a little bit with is to take away the tension of the sword. The problem with the sword is that we usually think about the sword when we are cutting. So how do we don't think about the sword? Well, we can think about where the movement comes from and where it goes. But another trick to not think about the sword is to think what is in front of your sword and what is behind your sword when you cut. And an image I want to play with now is the butterfly and the bear. And in Tai Chi Chuan, there are many exercises where you're very light in the front, like a butterfly. And the power is in the backhand, like the bear. So the power is from the earth, from the bear, and the movement in front, the light movement, is the butterfly, and the work of the butterfly is to open up the space. So the butterfly opens up the space, and the bear comes with the power. So how do we transfer this to sword and cutting with the sword? Well, I'll use one hand, holding with the little finger, and then imagine, I'm not touching the sharp, whatever that is, but imagine a butterfly. You can move your hand just in front of your sword. Focus on the space in front of your cut. Imagine a butterfly opening up that space. So the butterfly opens up the space. And I try it on the other side too. So the butterfly is in front of your cut. It moves, it opens up the cut. Be aware of the space in front, almost pulling your sword. So that's the butterfly. Now we have the bear. So hold the sword with one hand, always from little finger in the center. Now the other hand is the bear. Now when I cut, the power is behind my sword. So the bear is pushing the sword from behind. Pushing is not a good word, but I don't know better English now. So there's a power from behind moving the sword forward. And this is the bear. So on both sides, I experiment with this. The power, the bear is behind my sword. And then the butterfly. Feel the butterfly in front and feel the bear behind. The butterfly in front and the power of the bear behind your sword. And now hold the sword with two hands. You have the sword with two hands from your little finger. It's floating on the water surface. Imagine the butterfly and the bear at the same time. The butterfly flies in front and the bear comes behind. So you feel the space in front of your sword and behind your sword. The power behind and the opening in front. So we can come back to this and repeat this, but we have the sword and we're cutting or drawing or whatever. But what is in your mind when you do the movement will affect everything. So what are we thinking of? What are we feeling? And we can change what we think, what we feel when we cut. And I don't say this is correct, this is incorrect. I'm just giving you fantasies, images, you know, to play with. There's not right and wrong. It's just becoming more rich, you know. You can play with the lightness of your sword. You can play with the weight of your sword or your jaw. You can play with the connecting and moving. Where's the root of the sword, the root of the movement? And you can play with feeling the power behind your sword and feeling the opening in front, the butterfly. So there are other images, but I will not flood you with images now. But these different images helps us to develop a feeling. And it's not about right or wrong. It's just exploring the sword and the quality of the cut. So I would like to end with a little ki exercise. And this is also not about right or wrong. This is just a way to use the ki. I, a, to. So in this we do now, I is for opening, harmonizing, opening. A is for going through, for entering. To is completing, ending, closing. So we open, we go through, and we complete, we close. So again, this is not about right or wrong. It's one way to explore the energy of the sound with the sword. So in order to have some movement to this, we will do shomen, ski, and kesagiri. So I'll show you first, and then you go on by yourself. So the first I do is shomen with I, and then A entering, and then kesagiri, to complete, to finish. The interesting thing now is the quality we put into the sound. We're not just screaming, we are putting a quality inside. And with the I, we open. With the A, we go through. With the to, we complete, we close, we say stop, we end. So I want you to think about the quality you put inside. So I for opening, A for entering, and to for completing, closing. So please try for yourself, shomen, ski, and kesagiri. Open, go through, and close. Okay, so let's just meet together a short moment before we continue with the same. So I want to give you, when you make the ki, imagine the ki as a little boat on top of a wave. The ki, don't push the ki in front of you. Don't push the ki in front of your sword. The energy, the wave, and the little boat is your ki. And when the wave has reached its limit, the ki will be released, not pushed. So don't push the ki. Feel the energy. And when the energy reach the maximum, the ki is released. Almost like you hold a little bird and you wait, and then you release the bird. When the energy is at the peak, that's when you release the ki. So I know the sound is not perfect. I cannot show through internet, but if I try to give a feeling of, I cut and I wait, and then, ay! The sound is released, not pushed in front. So almost let the wave come before, and then when the wave starts to sink, that's the moment you release the sound. So that the sound is riding on the wave. It's not pushed in front, you know? So please try again and have this image that you release the ki. You release the to. So hold it and release it. Okay, please try again. So to. Opening, going through, completing, ending. Okay, so let's pick up the jaw again. If you have a jaw, or you can use a sword. So let's just repeat what we have done. So standing with the jaw, holding, put one hand on your center, one hand on the jaw. Connect your tailbone to the jaw and see if you can move the jaw from your tailbone or from your center or from your lower perineum if you want, but you're moving the jaw from inside. This is the important thing. And slowing it down. And I do the same with the other humming, moving the jaw from inside. And then if I'm standing here, with my left leg forward, my right hand here, standing in a hami position here, turning the jaw like this. And then I keep the movement here and let it turn around into Yokuben or Kesagiri, whatever. So I move from my center, let the jaw turn, and then I try to keep the mood. And when the jaw is moving forward, I let it continue and hit. So moving from your center, and when the jaw moves forward, let it continue and come around. Most important, the root of the movement. When the jaw is moving forward, up. And then we can also check from here, rising the jaw, feeling the jaw very light, walk through the jaw and the jaw becomes very heavy. Just playing with the weight. Very light feeling, walking through, and very heavy feeling in the jaw. So light, walking through, and weight, heavy. So instead of hitting, play with the weight. The image of your jaw floating up. When it floats up, you enter into the opening, and then the jaw becomes extremely heavy. Light, heavy. Light jaw, heavy jaw. And then we take the sword. We repeat this movement here. I'm standing first like this. I'm going to move left, but I'm standing here. I have the sword with my right hand here and a spiral. Remember, your little fingers has to connect to the sword. Now I start to open the spiral, turn into hami position, holding the sword with the little finger in my right hand, moving from inside. The spiral is expanding. And then expanding into Kesagiri and Kesagiri. Beginning with the connection of the spiral inside, expanding the spiral, opening up and cutting and cutting. You try by yourself. I do the left hand also. Okay, so let's just take the sword. I usually don't grab on what should be sharp, but we can still hold and breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And then draw a big circle. Both directions. And now feel the weight. So the weight of the sword, it's very heavy, sinking down. And then imagine your sword pulls you up. It becomes extremely light, pulls you up. And then your sword becomes extremely heavy, sinking down to the earth. Feel the weight of your sword, and then feel the lightness of your sword. The sword becoming very, very light. And one more time, the sword becoming really heavy, sinking down. The weight of your sword and the lightness. Feel the sword is very, very light. And rest. And then put your sword inside. Imagine your sword is inside your spine. It's your posture sword. You always have two swords, one for your posture and one sword that is active out. And you can keep the posture, but you can sometimes lean to the side, but your posture is always there. Even if you're leaning, you can still feel the connection inside with your internal sword. Okay, good. Then grabbing with your little finger, breathe in, open. Breathe out, closing. Shift your weight forward to your toes. Breathe in. Shift your weight back to your heels. Breathe out. Blending your sword, your breath, your body, your mind. Feel how the movement comes from deep inside. Breathing in, expanding. Breathing out, returning. Your sword, your mind, your breath, your body becoming one. And then we change and we hold the sword in the other hand. Make sure to grab with your little finger, always little finger. Breathing in, expanding. Breathing out, emptying, returning. And then let the movement disappear and just stand in an open posture, quiet breath, no extra movement. Just standing, feeling the earth under you, the sky above you. Feel your body, your mind, your breath, your balance, the earth, the sky, and the sword becoming one. Okay, so let's end, and I will end the same way as we started. Shamani Rei. Hai, arigatou gozaimashita.